Welcome to another Incubate show. My name is Basil Zaire, a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. And today we're going to talk about the Prince Edward Island PNP program for entrepreneurs. The Provincial Nominee program that's set up for Prince Edward is based on active management. So you're going to be, whether you're interested in purchasing an existing business or implementing your own business, regardless, the key point is to actively manage the business, meaning you are going to come to Canada and invest in this program and manage the business for a certain amount of time to meet the program the regulations throughout this duration. This is a permanent residency based PNP program, not a work permit. So there are no conditions when it comes to your permanent residency. So you don't first get a work permit and later on you receive permanent residency like other PNP programs. In Prince Edward Island, you're applying for permanent residency since day one. So because you're becoming a permanent resident since the beginning or the day that you land in Canada, there's going to be an obligation in terms of putting a deposit to ensure that you actually remain in the on the island to implement the business on the island as expected, and then later on you can receive your deposit back. So the investment amount for Prince Edward Island is 150,000 Canadian dollars. The net worth you're expected to have is 600,000 Canadian dollars. Now, to verify your net worth, you're going to go through the normal source of fund documentation where you show where you got your money or investment from a lawful source, and then you go through the normal process or procedure with the rest of the provinces. So, you're investing 150,000, but in addition to the 150,000, you're expected to put $200,000 as a deposit with the province. Now, the reason why the deposit is there is because you're receiving permanent residency since day one, which is not conditioned, as in, no matter what happens to your business, you implement it or not, the permanent residency does not get affected. So for the province to ensure that you are going to stay, implement, and manage the business for 2 years, you're expected to put in a deposit of $200,000 as you implement the business. So, we talked about the investment amount, talked about the net worth and the deposit. There is no requirement in terms of generating a specific number of jobs or creating jobs. This is not a requirement in Prince Edward. In terms of age, there's an actual age restriction in this PNP program, unlike other provinces, which is you have to be between the ages of 21 and 59. Which is a large range. And in terms of English command, they require CLB level 4, which is around IELTS score 4, which is basic level of English command. But you have to demonstrate that. In other PNP programs, you don't have to demonstrate your English language command. What's interesting about Prince Edward is there's no minimum or is no actual requirement set for the management experience or the number of years that you have worked or managed a business or operated a business. So yes, this is a business entrepreneurship program, but there's no minimum set requirement in terms of your current experience in managing a business. Education-wise, you're supposed to demonstrate that you have a high school degree and above. So this is a requirement which is rare to see within the PNP programs. Not a lot of entrepreneurship programs ask for a level of education. In Prince Edward, you're supposed to have a minimum of a high school degree. In terms of your active management, you're supposed to maintain your status in the business operations for 2 years for you to get your deposit back. So the $200,000 deposit you're going to put in, along with your $150,000 investment, you have to actively continue managing this business for 2 years. Then you can go ahead and get your deposit back in different phases. So for example, after 6 months, from establishing the business, you can get $25,000 back from your deposit. After a year, you get $25,000 again, all the way up to the second year where you get the remainder of the $150,000. There is a point selection basis or criteria set for Prince Edward. So you're supposed to score a minimum of 50 points in order for you to qualify for this program. Again, the 50 points are achieved through these various factors we talked about: age, experience, language command, education, etc., etc. So 50 points is the minimum requirement for you to be able to qualify. In terms of a process, there is no expression of interest in Prince Edward. You apply for permanent residency right away, so you just get your letter of acceptance after you apply. The government says, you know what, I like your business idea and your business plan. You go ahead and apply for your permanent residency and you're good to go. One thing that's mandatory in Prince Edward is that there's something called the exploration visit. So you have to come to Prince Edward, explore the location and the place where you're going to be setting up the business, have the meetings you need to have with the business owners, partners, or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Explore and also have an interview with the provincial government of Prince Edward Island, and then you can go ahead and continue your application process. So this is mandatory. Other provinces, there is no requirement for a visit to Prince Edward. It's actually something recommended in other places, but in Prince Edward, it's mandatory. So, to summarize, Prince Edward Island, it's a 150,000 Canadian investment with a net worth of 600,000. You also put a deposit of 200,000 with the provincial government, as well as the investment of 150. The 200,000 you get it back after 2 years in 3 different steps: 25, 25, and then 150 back. You're supposed to have a high school degree. You're supposed to be between the ages of 21 and 59. You're supposed to have CLB level 4 English or French, which is around IELTS 4 or 5. And you're supposed to manage the business for 2 years. And finally, you're supposed to have a minimum of 50 points that you score in the selection points or selection factors when it comes to the PNP program. I hope this gives you a general idea about what the program is all about. We're more than happy to walk you through an assessment to see how many potential points you can score under the Prince Edward Island Entrepreneurship Program, and then see if you qualify and the business model that you're interested in implementing actually qualifies from a PNP perspective. Thank you.